Audio Jungle. Audio Jungle.
Over 30 victims of Boko Haram insurgents in the northeastern part of the country has converged in the nation's capital to lend their voices seeking for the immediate release of Leah Shariub'S. The victims, whom in the recent times had faced different trials and tribulation from their assailants, are calling on the federal government to, with immediate effect, secure Leah Shariub'S release in order to meet the constitutional requirements of providing security for all. Giving analysis of the extent to the damage caused by the terrorist groups during a press conference at the headquarters of Dunnamis Gospel Centre in Abuja, a U.S.-Nigerian law group based in Washington, D.C., Emmanuel Gede, noted that Nigeria's condition is growing worse on a daily basis, rather calling for a collaborative effort to save the situation. According to Global Rights reports, Borno State is ranked 1 out of 10 most vulnerable states in Nigeria with a total number of 728 deaths from January 2019 to January 2020, followed by Zamfara with 450 deaths, Kaduna with 280 deaths, Katsina with 258 deaths, Taraba 181, Rivers 176, Benue 167, Niger 100, Sokoto 90, and Kogi 88 respectively. However, it is on record that these deaths are closely associated with farmer-elder clashes, kidnapping, banditry, and terrorism, amongst others. Consequently, bringing to this conference as experts felt Christians are the most vulnerable once there is any attack on communities, especially in the northern Nigeria.
When Leah Shariub'S was abducted, within 48 hours, we investigated and we found out that there were 39 Christian girls in that school. And my investigators told me that they had accounted for 38. Only one person was missing, and the person was Leah Shariub'S. Some weeks later, he contacted me again and said that Boko Haram made a mistake because the majority of the girls they took were Muslims. And then he told me, he said, "Daddy, we believe that they will return all of the girls because it was a mistake, but they will not return Leah." And in March, exactly what he told me happened. That is for you to understand that we're not unaware of the devices of the enemy. After Leah was abducted, we got in touch with the family, and after she was not released with the others, we decided to do one thing. We said it would be a calamity if Leah's remaining brother, remained in Yobe and was also abducted. So we found a mission school for him, and we moved him from Yobe and put him in a school where he would be safe. When we were doing this, there were people who were saying, "Why are we doing that?" I said, "We cannot rescue her, but let us rescue her brother in advance." Do you know what happened? 6 months later, Leah released the only audio recording she has ever released. And what did she say in it? She said, "Take care of my family." While we're here today, we want us to take care of each other. I want to start by recognizing our sister Amina. Amina, will you please rise up? Our sister Amina, Boko Haram came to her house and they killed her husband in front of her. In her presence, they sliced the neck of her children. To the glory of God, although she lost the husband, the children survived. Then, 2 years ago, she was escorting the body of a friend who had died to the village for burial. And Boko Haram ambushed them, and she was captured. The same person who already lost her husband. Amina, how many months did you spend? She was in captivity for 8 months in the forest. If you go on YouTube, you will see our sister's video. They recorded her and asked her to plead for mercy for their lives. Our sister Monica, her husband was a policeman. Boko Haram attacked them in the barracks. She was pregnant at the time. In her presence in the barracks, they cut off the head of her husband. Our sister ran for her life. They pursued her. With her pregnancy and everything, they used machete to slash her hand. Show the people of God to your hand. They slashed her hand. When they laid her on the ground like a chicken, they asked her to renounce Christ. She refused. They asked her again. She refused. Then they cut her neck like a chicken. Our sister lay there as if dead for 3 days. It was when the sanitation workers came to carry the bodies 3 days later that she raised her hand and she was picked out among the dead bodies. Brethren, our sister was in hospital for 1 year, 6 months because they cut the leg. It was after she recovered from the hospital that she was finally told that all her children had been killed that day as well. The only one remaining was the one who was visiting his grandparents on that day. And so that is all that is remaining of her family. Please sit down, my sister. Our sister used a tube in her neck for many years till she cried out to God, God, you didn't make me with tube. Please let me have my voice again. If you hear her voice now, you can hear that this is a voice where the vocal cords are being cut. That is our sister. I won't even go more into her story because after losing her whole family and everything, she moved back to live with her father. Then Boko Haram came and attacked them there, and her father, her mother, and herself became IDPs. My brother Dauda, Boko Haram came to his house in Yobe. They laid him on the ground like a goat, and again they began to cut his neck. They said, they started cutting from the back. They said, this back will take time. Let us start from the front. They started. My brother showed them the scars. They grabbed him all the way. You can see the scars. They tore from here all the way like this, like this. They came and put the knife in his mouth and tore it like this. When he went, even with his condition, when he got up, and they saw that this person who they had caught was standing up, they began to run. What did our brother do? He trekked to his Christian neighbor's house and told them one by one, please don't go around his head. He was thinking of saving lives of others, not his own. He got to the emir's palace, and the emir called DPO and said, look, they have caught somebody's neck, come and collect it. DPO told him that from what you have described, this person will not leave. So rather than come now, we'll come in the morning and we carry the body. In the morning, they came, he was still alive. And they took him to the hospital. The doctor saw him and said, based on the amount of blood he's lost, it didn't make sense to spend too much energy trying to save him. So they did patch suturing around his neck, not a good one, just something to manage. From that time till now, the brother has had more than 4 operations. He has to take injection every night just to sleep because of the pain. Tony was coming back from Christmas in January 2015 when they stopped their taxi and said all the infidels should come out. They checked their ID and they captured him. Tony already had a bad leg. They carried him to one village and announced to the villagers that, hey, they have captured some infidels that they are going to slaughter. And the villagers celebrated and brought food for the Boko Haram people to show you that there are those villagers who are part and participate. Our brother was taken to the captivity with another pastor. They were there for 10 good months. One night, our brother has a bad leg till today with crutches. He said that they must escape. So while it was raining, he and the pastor decided to escape with crutches. Somebody on crutches trying to escape in the forest. After going for some time, they found a cave where they decided to hide for the night. Inside the cave, they saw a mighty snake. The pastor was panicking. Our brother told pastor that, look, where we're fleeing is more dangerous than this. If God kept our life till now, maybe this snake is an angel to protect us from the terrors, not us. Hallelujah. If Daniel could survive lion, we will survive snake. Amen. That was how in the morning they wanted to leave. Then they heard prayer call from the camp. They were escaping, they didn't know they were going round and round, they were still in the same vicinity. But God helped them. For about 5 days, they kept trekking and trekking. Before they left, they wrote a note. He wrote a note with his name and his address on it. The pastor wrote name and address and put in their pocket. He said that should anybody find their body, let them be able to notify their families that this is where they were. By the time they got to one village, with all their behavior like this, the villagers called soldiers and said that they saw two Boko Haram. So the soldiers were coming with guns to capture them. They cocked the gun when they saw them. Him and pastor said, "Glory to Almighty God." When the soldiers heard glory to Almighty God, they said, "Hi, this one is not Boko Haram." That was how they were saved. They still interrogated them because they were not sure. You know what saved them? When they brought out the paper in their pockets with their name and address. Glory to Almighty God. Our brother came out and decided to go back to school. Because when he came out, his village had been destroyed, nobody remaining there. In fact, the soldiers gave him phone to call his family. He managed to call one of his relatives. They said Tony is on the line for you. She hung up the phone. She said, Tony is dead. Who is this 419 calling me? The family had given up that he was gone. He came out. He went back to school. By the grace of God, he finished his diploma, brought it to Abuja to show me. He tried to get job, couldn't get job. He said, Daddy, please let me go and farm. I gave him loan. He went and farmed. Remember, this is somebody with bad leg. Last year, he brought bag of beans to show me. This is how determined our brother is. His desire was to see his mother. His mother, after they attacked the village, fled to Cameroon and was a refugee in the refugee camp. Because of his health, he couldn't go there. Because of her poverty, she couldn't come here. To the glory of God, last week, his mother came here from Cameroon. Mama, Mama is here. She came back. In the Middle Belt, Christians are being haunted like animals in their houses and on their farms. In the Northeast, they are being haunted with ambush on the road. Can we remain at peace in Zion? Brethren, today is a day of reckoning. I want to make a call to Boko Haram today. You captured this girl. You have done the worst that you can to her. We have reports, credible reports, that the person who impregnated her has divorced her. So why are you still keeping her? Release her and let her go. Loose Leah and let her go. Repeat with me. Loose Leah and let her go. Again. 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 Loose Leah and let her go. One more time. Loose Leah and let her go. The seventh time. Loose Leah and let her go.
While speaking, Emmanuel Gede reveals that, based on a verifiable evidence, the Nigerian's insecurity problem is a governmental problem, therefore demands that there is urgent need to addressing victims' plight rather than paying attention to the perpetrators of this evil act on innocent citizens.
Of the concerns we have from our various investigations over the years, there have clearly been instances where security forces were implicated in attacks on citizenry. Now, what I am saying is not just a figment of my imagination. We have witnesses and victims who have testified to that. But the International Criminal Court prosecutors' report has also identified crimes against humanity or war crimes committed by some of our security forces. Having said that, we acknowledge that they're working in very difficult situations and things are very bad. But the particular instance we saw in Plateau State, the victim is here. It was the Nigerian military who were in the community to provide peace and maintain peace that shot him. Happen to anybody, whether it's Muslim or Christian, and we should all come together to help them. The fact of the matter is the government has failed in security. The government has failed in rehabilitation and care. I saw pictures of the churches in Damaturu still burnt down. And you sit down and I say, how come these have not been rehabilitated? Local governments have been rehabilitated, mosques have been rehabilitated, but churches in Damaturu and in Potiskum are still down. So even in the reconstruction, there is persecution and injustice. We're running a country at this point that is not a country of equity. It's a country of injustice and discrimination, and that has to change.
Also, the Vice President, Christian Association of Nigeria, Dr. Caleb Ahima, and the General Overseer, Dunnamis Gospel Centre, Dr. Paul Eneche, in their remarks stresses that, despite several appeals to the government, insecurity has remained unabated, hence reiterates that security problem in Nigeria is politically motivated, even as they specifically urge the Christians to be spiritually awake in order not to be wiped off in the surface of the earth.
Man has been calling on government, talking to government, and I think it is obvious, the silence, the persistence of this evil. We're sure of one thing. Like I said today when I was interviewed in the morning, we cannot doubt that the government knows what is happening. We cannot doubt. Looking at the fact that we are a nation, we have the Air Force, the Navy, we have the soldiers, we have the weapons. What is happening in this nation? We want to call on the federal government again that we are getting to a point of anarchy. It is the constitutional responsibility of government to protect the lives and the property of citizens. But where this seems to have been ignored, we have every reason to be suspicious. We have every reason to speak passionately to government again that Christians in this nation are Nigerians. They are part and parcel of this country under these constitutions and cannot and should not continue to be subjected to this evil that is eating up the people of this country.
What kind of situation do we find ourselves? And who in this nation at any level will be sincere enough to say that everything is right? If this is not a state of emergency with a very calamitous dimension, what are we experiencing? To what extent should it go before people are convinced that the nation is literally being wiped off from the north? But I like everyone who has watched this to let the awareness clear that all is not well in the land. But in the name of Jesus, it shall be well. For as much as evil has never overcome good, and darkness has never quenched light. Believe, as this awareness rises, and as people take responsibility to say no, instead of dwelling in the realm of passivity, timidity, and allowing a status quo to go on. We have a lot of people in this country today who it's as if they gummed their lips. People are watching evil going on and nobody says anything. I want to say that if you're a businessman, you can only do business if there is a nation. If you are a pastor, you can only pastor a church if there is a nation. If you are a politician, you can only be a politician in a nation that exists. It is time for everybody with one voice to say no to this evil of any religious persuasion, that this thing cannot continue anymore. Enough is enough of evil, enough is enough of bloodshed, enough is enough of the rule of terror. And everybody who is responsible, collaborator, sympathizer, supporter of terrorism, wickedness, and bloodshed, let it be known to you that your days are numbered.
Meanwhile, Reverend Dr. Gideon Paramalam, founder, the Gideon and Fomi Paramalam Peace Foundation, sued for more unity between the Christians and Muslim faithful to ensure unity so as to conquer the menace. He added that achieving the objectives will require more engagement on the part of the government to restoring the citizens' confidence to providing security through adequate deployment of military personnel to areas that are prone to disaster.
If we want to truly confront the current insurgency, on one hand Boko Haram, and the general insecurity created in the country as a result of the activities of the Fulani herdsmen, they have to be taken side by side. We're dealing with Boko Haram on one hand, but we're also dealing with Fulani herdsmen on the other hand. If we're divided as a nation, we're losing. I think that both Christians and Muslims need to unite together. The government needs to do more to carry the people along. Right now, I would not say that is the case. There's a lot of politicking taking place even in this particular fight. For instance, I got wind that most of the military checkpoints were removed in Borno State, in Yobe, just before Christmas, and that gave a free ride for Boko Haram to come in and attack, because there were really no military checkpoints, because there used to be very close military checkpoints. Now that's reality. If the interest of the citizen is being taken on board, that kind of decision should not have been taken. There needs to be greater coordination between the military, the government, and the communities, the people. Now, when Andimi was also picked up, it's the same thing. Something happened in Michika when the military were withdrawn. And the very moment they were withdrawn, the terrorists swarmed into the town. And so the haphazard way in which this situation has been handled has brought us to where we are today. Now, the government is more concerned in highlighting we should not let Boko Haram divide us. In truth, Boko Haram is not dividing us. The narratives from the government sometimes create some of these complications. And the Muslims will need to rise up and do more to work with Christians to address the whole questions of the killings. For instance, when the president said, out of those killed, 90% are Muslims, I think that's an unfair statement. That is an unfair statement. If you talk about Boko Haram in the days of Shakau, perhaps, but even that, I can't accept it fully until we have the statistics. But what about Boko Haram when they split into two? In 2016, you have ISWAP, and they made it absolutely clear their concern is Christians. So who are the people being killed now? So the question of saying 90% or whatever percent does not arise. Actually, the government should not even be saying those kind of narratives. Nigerians are being killed. And that should worry any government. And all of us should unite together. And Muslims should not be seen as though they're taking sides with the government, because that would not help us.
Audio Jungle.